The morning sky over New Haven Colony turned dark with alien ships. Jake Morrison put down his coffee and stared up at the massive vessels floating above the settlement. He had never seen anything like them before. The ships were black and silver, shaped like giant triangles that blocked out the sun. "Everyone to the town hall now," Governor Pete Andrews announced over the colony speakers. His voice shook with fear. "Emergency meeting. All citizens must come." Jake walked quickly through the dusty streets. Other colonists hurried past him, their faces full of worry. Children held tight to their parents' hands. The alien ships made no sound, but their shadow fell over everything like a dark blanket. The town hall filled with over 300 people. Jake found a seat near the back. He could see Lisa Sullivan sitting in the front row with her 8-year-old daughter Katie. The little girl had bright red hair and freckles. She looked scared but tried to be brave like her mother. Governor Andrews stood on the small stage. His hands shook as he held a strange device that glowed with blue light. "This morning the aliens sent us a message," he said. "They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They want something from us." The room became very quiet. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. "They want one of our children," Andrews continued. His voice cracked. "They say they need a human child for their science experiments. If we don't give them what they want, they will destroy our colony." People began to shout and cry. Mothers pulled their children closer. Fathers stood up with angry faces. Jake felt sick to his stomach. He thought about all the children in the colony. Sweet Katie Sullivan, little Ben Parker who always waved at Jake when he worked on the buildings, Amy Foster who drew pictures of flowers and gave them to everyone. "How can we choose?" Lisa Sullivan stood up. Tears ran down her face. "How can we pick one child to die?" Commander Alex Turner, the head of colony defense, stepped forward. "We have no choice. Our weapons cannot fight their ships. We have 48 hours to decide. We'll draw names," Andrews said quietly. "It's the only fair way." Jake felt anger burning in his chest. Fair? There was nothing fair about this. He stood up from his seat. "This is wrong," he said loudly. "We're talking about sending a child to die. Do you have a better idea?" Turner asked. "Should we let them kill everyone instead?" Jake looked around the room at all the frightened faces. He saw Katie Sullivan holding her mother's hand. The little girl's eyes were wide with fear, but she didn't cry. She was trying to be strong. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He walked around his small house thinking. He had lived alone since coming to New Haven 5 years ago. Before that, he had been a soldier. He had seen war and death. He had lost friends in battle. But this was different. This was about innocent children. Jake remembered his younger sister, Emma. She had died in a transport accident when she was only 7. He had promised their parents he would protect her, but he failed. The guilt had followed him everywhere. Maybe this was his chance to save a child when he couldn't save Emma. The next morning, the colonists gathered again. Andrews had made a simple lottery system. All the children's names went into a metal box. The youngest was 5 years old. The oldest was 15. "Please," Andrews said to the crowd, "let us do this quickly." He reached into the box and pulled out a folded paper. His hands shook as he opened it. His face went white. "Katie Sullivan," he whispered. Lisa Sullivan screamed. She fell to her knees and pulled Katie close to her. "No, not my baby. Please, not my baby." Katie looked confused and scared. "Mommy, what's wrong?" she asked in her small voice. Jake felt something break inside his chest. He couldn't watch this anymore. He pushed through the crowd and walked to the front of the room. "Wait," he said loudly. "I'll go instead." Everyone stared at him. Andrews shook his head. "Jake, you can't. They specifically asked for a child." "Then we ask them if they'll take me instead," Jake said. He looked down at Katie. She had stopped crying and was looking up at him with curious eyes. "I volunteer to take her place." "The aliens will never agree," Turner said. "They want children because their bodies adapt better to experiments." "We have to try," Jake said firmly. "What if I can convince them that an adult human has something they want more?" Lisa Sullivan looked up at him with desperate hope. "You would do that? You would die for my daughter?" Jake knelt down next to Katie. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently. "Do you like building things?" Katie nodded. "I want to be an engineer like Mommy." "That's great," Jake smiled. "I build things too. Houses and roads and bridges. Would you like me to teach you someday?" "Yes, please," Katie said. Jake stood up and faced the crowd. I'm going to ask the aliens to take me instead. I'll tell them that adult humans have something children don't have. Experience, strength, the ability to survive things that would break a child. They'll kill you, Andrew said. Maybe, Jake agreed. But at least Katie gets to live. At least she gets to grow up and become an engineer and build amazing things. Commander Turner activated his communication device. Within an hour, a small alien ship landed near the town hall. 3 tall, thin creatures walked out. They had gray skin and large black eyes. They wore strange armor that seemed to shift colors. The lead alien spoke through a translation device. We are here for the human child. Prepare the subject for transport. Jake stepped forward. I want to make a deal with you. The alien tilted its head. You are not the chosen subject. I want to take the child's place, Jake said. I can offer you something better than a child. Explain. Jake took a deep breath. Human children are weak and break easily. But adult humans like me have something special. We can survive pain and fear that would kill other species. We can endure things that seem impossible. Isn't that more interesting for your experiments? The aliens talked to each other in their strange language. Finally, the leader spoke again. You claim human adults possess superior resilience? Yes, Jake said. Test me instead of the child. I guarantee you'll learn more from me than from her. More alien chatter. Jake's heart pounded as he waited. Finally, the leader nodded. Very well. We will take you instead. If you prove inadequate, we will return for the child. Jake felt relief wash over him. He turned to look at Katie one last time. She was holding her mother's hand and watching him with big, serious eyes. Remember what I said about building things, he told her. Build something amazing. I will, Katie promised. Thank you, Mr. Jake. Jake walked toward the alien ship. He didn't look back. Behind him, he could hear Lisa Sullivan crying with relief and gratitude. He could hear the other colonists whispering prayers and thanks. As the alien ship lifted off the ground, Jake looked down at New Haven through a small window. The colony grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared. He didn't know if he would ever see it again. He didn't know what the aliens would do to him. But Katie Sullivan was safe. That was all that mattered. The alien ship was cold and quiet. Jake sat in a small metal room with no windows. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that hurt his eyes. He had been traveling for 3 days now, and the aliens had given him only water and strange-tasting food that looked like gray paste. The ship finally stopped moving. Jake felt his stomach drop as they landed somewhere. A few minutes later, the door to his room opened. 2 tall aliens in white suits gestured for him to follow them. Jake walked through long hallways filled with strange machines and blinking lights. Other aliens stopped their work to stare at him. Some pointed and made clicking sounds with their mouths. Jake tried to stand tall and look brave even though he was scared. They brought him to a huge room with white walls and bright lights. In the center was a metal table with straps and wires. Machines surrounded it, making soft beeping sounds. Jake's mouth went dry. This looked like a place where very bad things happened. Subject will comply with all procedures, said an alien in a long white coat. This one was different from the others. It had silver markings on its skin and spoke with a cold, emotionless voice. I am Dr. Nex Valthera. You will be tested to determine your usefulness. What kind of tests? Jake asked. Pain tolerance, mental stability, physical endurance, survival instinct. We will push your body and mind until they break. Then we will study the pieces. Jake felt fear crawl up his spine, but he forced himself to stay calm. And if I survive your tests? You will not, Dr. Valthera said matter-of-factly. No subject has ever survived the complete examination process. They strapped Jake to the metal table. The restraints were tight and cut into his wrists. A young alien with green markings attached wires to Jake's head and chest. This alien moved more gently than the others and wouldn't look Jake in the eyes. What's your name? Jake asked the young alien. The creature looked surprised. Subjects do not usually speak to technicians. Well, I'm speaking to you. What should I call you? The alien glanced nervously at Dr. Valthera, who was busy with other machines. My designation is Crix, he whispered. Nice to meet you, Crix. I'm Jake. Crix looked confused. Why do you wish to know my name? Where I come from, we always introduce ourselves. It's polite. Dr. Valthera activated the first machine. Pain shot through Jake's body like lightning. Every muscle tensed and his back arched against the table. The pain lasted for 30 seconds, then stopped. Interesting, Dr. Valthera said, looking at the readouts. Most subjects lose consciousness immediately. You remained aware. Is that all you've got? Jake asked through gritted teeth. He was lying. The pain had been terrible, but he remembered his military training. Never show weakness to the enemy. Dr. Valthera increased the power. This time the pain lasted a full minute. Jake's vision went white and he bit his tongue until it bled, but he stayed awake. Remarkable, the doctor muttered. Crix, increase the neural probe intensity. Doctor, Crix said hesitantly. The readings show dangerous stress levels. Continue. For the next 6 hours, they put Jake through test after test. Electric shocks. Extreme cold and heat, loud noises that felt like needles in his ears. Bright lights that made his head feel like it was splitting open. Between tests, Jake talked to Crix. He told him about Earth and New Haven Colony. He described how humans built cities and grew food and took care of their children. Crix listened with growing interest. Your species sounds chaotic, Crix said during one break. How do you maintain order without strict genetic programming? We don't always maintain order, Jake admitted. We argue and fight sometimes. But we also help each other. We share food with neighbors. We take care of sick people. We protect children who aren't even our own. That is inefficient, Crix said, but he sounded uncertain. Maybe. But it makes life worth living. Dr. Valthera returned and began the mental tests. They put Jake in a completely dark room with no sound. Most species went insane within hours from the sensory deprivation. Jake lasted 3 days. He kept his mind busy by designing buildings in his head. He planned a new school for New Haven Colony. He figured out how to build a bridge across the river. He imagined teaching Katie Sullivan how to use construction tools. When they brought him out, Dr. Valthera looked frustrated. How did you maintain mental stability in complete isolation? I used my imagination, Jake said simply. Humans are good at that. Impossible. Imagination cannot sustain consciousness under extreme stress. You want to bet? They tried different tortures. Keeping Jake awake for days. Putting him in a room that was either burning hot or freezing cold. Playing recordings of screaming sounds. Nothing broke his mind completely. Jake survived by telling himself stories. He remembered funny things his army buddies used to say. He thought about his sister Emma and all the good times they had together. He planned what he would say to Katie when he got home, if he got home. Crix began spending more time with Jake between tests. The young alien brought him better food and clean water. He asked endless questions about human culture. Why did you volunteer to replace the human child? Crix asked one day. Jake thought about it. Because she deserved a chance to grow up. Because children are precious. Because sometimes adults have to sacrifice for the next generation. But you gained nothing from this action. I gained the knowledge that Katie is safe. That's enough. Crix stared at him for a long time. My species does not understand this concept. We value genetic improvement and logical advancement. Individual sacrifice for others is considered a mental defect. Maybe that's why you guys are so miserable, Jake said. We are not miserable. We are efficient. Same thing, isn't it? After 2 weeks of testing, Dr. Valthera called in his superior. Jake was strapped to the table again when a new alien entered the room. This one was taller than the others and wore robes instead of a lab coat. Golden markings covered its skin and its eyes seemed to glow with intelligence. This is the human subject? The new alien asked. Yes, Your Majesty, Dr. Valthera said, bowing low. Queen Viridian Kethzar. The subject has exceeded all predicted survival parameters. So this was the queen of the alien empire. Jake looked up at her with curiosity instead of fear. She had an aura of power and authority that reminded him of some of the generals he had served under. Show me the test results, Queen Viridian commanded. Dr. Valthera activated a holographic display. Charts and graphs appeared in the air, showing Jake's responses to all the torture. The Queen studied them carefully. These readings suggest impossible levels of psychological resilience, she said. That's what I've been trying to tell you, Jake said. Humans don't break easily. The Queen turned to look at him directly. Her large black eyes seemed to see right through him. You speak as if this is something to be proud of. It is. We've survived ice ages and wars and plagues and natural disasters. We've built civilizations on worlds that tried to kill us. We take care of our weak and defend our young. If that's not something to be proud of, I don't know what is. Queen Viridian moved closer to the table. And you believe this resilience comes from what source? From caring about each other. from having something worth living for, from refusing to give up even when everything looks hopeless. Fascinating. The Queen turned to Dr. Valthera. Continue the experiments. I want to understand how this psychological mechanism functions. Your Majesty, Dr. Valthera said nervously, continued testing may result in subject termination. Then be more careful. This specimen has proven far too valuable to lose through careless procedures. As the Queen left, Jake caught her looking back at him one more time. There was something different in her expression now. Not just scientific curiosity, but something that looked almost like respect. That night, Crix brought Jake some of the gray food paste. But this time he also brought a small device that projected images. I wanted to show you something, Crix said quietly. These are recordings of my home world. The images showed a planet covered in silver cities and perfect geometric gardens. Everything was clean and organized and lifeless. Jake saw aliens moving through the streets in orderly lines, never talking or laughing or touching each other. It looks lonely, Jake said. Lonely? Crix repeated the word like it was foreign to him. Empty. Sad. Like everyone is sleepwalking through life. Crix was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, I have been thinking about what you told me, about sacrifice and caring for others. I do not understand it, but I find myself wanting to understand. That's the first step, Jake said, wanting to learn something new. The Queen has ordered that you be kept alive indefinitely. She wants to study your psychological responses in detail. Jake felt a chill run through him. What does that mean? It means you will not be going home, Jake Morrison. You are too valuable to release. Queen Viridian moved Jake to a better room. It had a real bed instead of a metal table, and a window that showed the stars outside. The food was better too. Still strange, but it didn't taste like paste anymore. Jake knew this was supposed to make him grateful, but it just made him feel more trapped. Every day the Queen came to talk with him. She would sit across from a small table and ask him questions about human behavior. Jake answered honestly, mostly because he was bored and lonely. Explain to me again why you volunteered to take the child's place, Queen Viridian said during one of their sessions. Because it was the right thing to do, Jake replied for the 10th time. But you gained nothing. In fact, you lost everything. Your freedom, your life, your future. This makes no logical sense. Jake leaned back in his chair. Your Majesty, can I ask you something? The Queen looked surprised. No one had ever asked her a question during these interviews. Proceed. Do you have children? I have one offspring, Prince Kale. He was created through optimal genetic selection and artificial gestation. Do you love him? Love? The Queen said the word like it tasted bitter. I ensure his proper development and education. I provide for his needs. Love is an inefficient emotional response that clouds judgment. But if someone threatened to hurt him, what would you do? The Queen was quiet for a moment. I would eliminate the threat to protect valuable genetic material, even if it meant sacrificing yourself. Another pause. That would depend on the strategic value of the sacrifice. Jake shook his head. Your Majesty, with respect, you're lying to yourself. The Queen's eyes flashed dangerously. Explain. If someone put a gun to your son's head and said they'd kill him unless you died instead, you'd do it. You might tell yourself it's about genetic value or strategic thinking, but the truth is you'd do it because you love him, because parents protect their children, even alien parents. You cannot know this. I can see it in your eyes when you talk about him. It's the same look my mother had when she talked about me and my sister. Queen Viridian stood up abruptly and walked to the window. She stared out at the stars for a long time. Your species is dangerous, she said quietly. Why? Because we love our children? Because you make others feel things they should not feel. Over the following weeks, their conversations became longer and more personal. The Queen told Jake about her empire and how it was built on logic and efficiency. Every citizen had a predetermined role based on their genetics. Emotions were suppressed through chemical treatments. Art and music were considered wasteful distractions. It sounds horrible, Jake said one day. It is perfectly ordered. There is no chaos, no conflict, no waste. No joy either. No wonder, no discovery, no growth. Growth comes through technological advancement and genetic improvement. Jake laughed. That's not growth, that's just maintenance. Real growth comes from challenging yourself, from experiencing new things, from connecting with others. These connections you speak of, friendship, love, family bonds, they cause suffering when they are severed. True, Jake admitted, but they also make life worth living. The pain of loss is the price we pay for the joy of love. The Queen looked confused. You speak as if pain and joy are both valuable. They are. You can't really appreciate happiness unless you've experienced sadness. You can't understand love unless you've felt loneliness. Emotions give life meaning. This is inefficient. Efficiency isn't everything, Your Majesty. Sometimes the most important things in life are the least efficient. Crix visited Jake regularly now. The young alien had changed since their first meeting. He moved differently, spoke with more expression, and even seemed to smile sometimes, though Jake wasn't sure if aliens could actually smile. I have been sharing your stories with other young technicians, Crix told him one evening. What kind of stories? About human celebrations, about families choosing to stay together, even when it is difficult, about people helping strangers for no reward. They find these concepts fascinating. Are you getting in trouble for it? Some of the older scientists disapprove. They say I'm becoming infected with human irrationality, but the young ones want to hear more. Jake felt a spark of hope. Change often starts with young people. They're not as set in their ways. Dr. Valthera has filed a complaint with the Queen. He says my performance has declined because I spend too much time talking with you. I'm sorry. Crix, I don't want to cause problems for you. You have not caused problems, Jake. You have caused questions, and questions lead to growth. The next day, Queen Viridian arrived looking angry. My scientists tell me you are corrupting my staff with dangerous ideas. I'm just talking to them, sharing stories about my home. These stories are changing how they think, how they behave. Some are even refusing their emotional suppressant treatments. Jake tried not to smile. Is that bad? It is chaos. Order requires conformity, does it? Or does order require understanding? Your people are questioning things because they're starting to think for themselves. That's not chaos, that's evolution. The Queen began pacing around the room. General Thex Morvain has advised me to terminate you immediately. He says your influence is spreading too quickly. And what do you think? I think... The Queen stopped pacing and looked directly at Jake. I think I am beginning to understand why your species survived when others did not. Why is that? Because you adapt. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You change yourselves and your environment through choice and will, not just through genetic programming. Jake nodded. That's right. We're not just the sum of our genes. We're the result of our choices, our experiences, our relationships with others. Show me, the Queen said suddenly. Show you what? Show me how to feel what you call love. Jake was quiet for a moment. I can't just teach you to love, Your Majesty. It's something you have to experience. Then help me experience it. Tell me about your son, not as a genetic specimen or a strategic asset. Tell me about Prince Kale as your child. The Queen sat down slowly. I do not know how. Start with a memory. What's the first thing you remember about him? His birth. The genetic technicians pronounced him viable and removed him from the artificial womb. No, not the technical stuff. What did you feel when you first saw him? The Queen was silent for a long time. I felt relief and something else, something I could not name. What did he look like? Small. Vulnerable. His eyes were closed and he made soft sounds. The Queen's voice became quieter. I wanted to protect him from anything that might harm him. That's love, Your Majesty. No, that was instinct to preserve genetic investment. Tell yourself that if you want. But I see the way your expression changes when you talk about him. You love your son. And that's not a weakness, it's what makes you real. The Queen stood up again, but this time she moved differently. Less rigid, more uncertain. If what you say is true, then everything I have built, everything my empire represents is wrong. Not wrong. Just incomplete. You've created efficiency without meaning, order without purpose. Your people are surviving but not living. And you believe love and emotions provide this meaning? I believe connections provide meaning. Caring about something beyond yourself. Having something worth protecting, worth sacrificing for. The Queen walked to the door, then turned back. I will consider what you have said. But understand this, Jake Morrison. You have put me in an impossible position. I cannot release you because you are too valuable to study. But I cannot continue studying you because you are changing my entire empire. Then maybe it's time to choose which is more important. Control or growth. After the Queen left, Jake sat alone and thought about Katie Sullivan. By now she would have started her engineering studies. Maybe she was designing her first building or learning to use construction tools. He hoped she was happy and safe. He thought about New Haven Colony and wondered if they missed him. He thought about his sister Emma and whether she would be proud of what he had done. Most of all, he thought about the young Zephyrians like Crix, who were starting to question everything they had been taught. Change was coming to this empire. Whether the Queen wanted it or not, Jake just hoped he would live to see it. 3 weeks later, Crix burst into Jake's room looking excited and frightened. "Jake, something is happening. The young technicians on 7 different worlds have stopped taking their emotional suppressants. They are organizing meetings to discuss your stories. The older scientists are demanding action." "What kind of action?" "General Morvain has called for your immediate execution. He says you are a virus infecting the Empire with dangerous thoughts." "And the Queen?" "She has refused his request. She says you are under her personal protection." "But Jake," Crix looked worried. "I think she is changing too, and I do not know if that is good or bad for any of us." Jake woke up to the sound of alarms blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in his room, and he could hear running footsteps in the hallways outside. Something was very wrong. Crix rushed into his room without knocking. "Jake, we have to move you. There's been an uprising on 3 colony worlds. Young Zephyrians are refusing orders and demanding changes to our society." "What kind of changes?" "They want the right to choose their own careers instead of being assigned based on genetics. They want to form family bonds with chosen partners instead of artificial breeding programs. They want to create art and music." Crix looked both amazed and terrified. "They are asking for the things you told them about." Jake felt pride and worry at the same time. "That's wonderful, but also dangerous. What's the government doing about it?" "Elder Zex Thorum has declared a state of emergency. He's the oldest and most traditional leader in our council. He blames you for everything and wants you executed immediately. And Queen Viridian, she's locked herself in her private chambers. She won't see anyone, not even her advisors." The alarm stopped suddenly, making the silence even more frightening. A few minutes later, the door opened and General Thex Morvain walked in. He was a huge alien with dark gray skin and scars across his face. His eyes burned with hatred when he looked at Jake. "Human," he said in a deep, threatening voice. "You will come with me." "Where are we going?" Jake asked, standing up slowly. "To face judgment for your crimes against the Empire." "What crimes?" "Talking to people, spreading dangerous ideas, corrupting loyal citizens, causing rebellion across 7 worlds." The general stepped closer. "Because of you, our perfect order is crumbling." "Maybe your perfect order wasn't so perfect after all." The general grabbed Jake by the arm and pulled him roughly toward the door. "You will not speak again until given permission." They walked through corridors filled with nervous-looking aliens. Some stopped their work to stare at Jake. A few made gestures that looked like salutes, while others turned away in fear. Jake realized his reputation had spread much further than he thought. The general brought him to a large chamber with a high ceiling and golden walls. At the far end sat an enormous alien that looked ancient and withered. This had to be Elder Zex Thorum. Around him stood dozens of other aliens in official robes. "So this is the human virus," Elder Thorum said in a voice like grinding stone. "Such a small creature to cause such large problems." "I haven't done anything except tell the truth," Jake said. "Silence." The elder roared. "You have poisoned young minds with concepts of chaos and inefficiency. Because of you, productivity has dropped on multiple worlds. Citizens are abandoning their assigned duties. Some are even forming unauthorized emotional bonds." "You mean they're falling in love and choosing their own jobs?" "That sounds pretty normal to me." "It is abnormal. It is dangerous. Our society has maintained perfect order for 10,000 years. We have eliminated war, poverty, and waste. And you would destroy all of that for what?" "Feelings?" Jake looked around the room at all the alien faces staring down at him. "Your Majesty, can I ask you something? In 10,000 years of perfect order, have your people ever been happy?" The question seemed to shock everyone. Several aliens began talking at once in their strange language. Elder Thorum raised his hand for silence. "Happiness is irrelevant," he said. "We have achieved efficiency and stability. But what's the point of living if you're not allowed to actually live? What good is a perfect society if no one in it can feel joy or love or hope? Those emotions lead to suffering and conflict. They also lead to growth and creativity and connection. Yes, love can hurt, but it can also heal and inspire and give life meaning. Your people are starting to understand that. A door at the side of the chamber opened and Queen Viridian walked in. She looked different than before, less rigid, more uncertain. Her eyes found Jake's across the room. Your Majesty, Elder Thorum said, bowing slightly. We were just about to pronounce sentence on the human. What sentence? The Queen asked. Death, of course. The creature is too dangerous to live. I have already declared him under my personal protection, and I am overruling that decision, the Elder said firmly. The Council has voted. The human dies today. Queen Viridian stepped forward. You forget yourself, Elder. I am still queen of this empire. You are a queen who has been compromised by alien influence. Your judgment is no longer trusted. Jake watched this exchange with growing alarm. The queen was trying to protect him, but she was obviously outnumbered. The other council members were nodding in agreement with the Elder. If you execute me, Jake said loudly, it will only make things worse. Explain, Elder Thorum demanded. Right now I'm just one human telling stories. But if you kill me, I become a martyr. The young people who are already questioning your system will see me as someone who died for their freedom. That will make the rebellion 10 times stronger. Several council members began whispering to each other. The Elder looked thoughtful. Perhaps, he said slowly, but if we let you live, you will continue to spread your poison. Then let me go home. Send me back to my colony. Without me here, things will gradually return to normal. Impossible, General Morvain interrupted. You know too much about our empire. You could help your species prepare for war against us. We don't want war, Jake said. We just want to be left alone. Your Majesty, a new voice called from the back of the chamber. Jake turned to see Prince Kael walking forward. He was younger than Jake had expected, maybe the alien equivalent of a teenager. But he moved with confidence and purpose. Prince Kael, Elder Thorum said with forced respect, why do you interrupt these proceedings? Because I have something to say about the human. The prince looked directly at Jake. I have been studying the reports of his influence on our people. I have read transcripts of his conversations. I have seen the changes happening across our worlds. And what conclusion have you reached? The Queen asked her son. That perhaps it is time for our empire to evolve. Shocked gasps echoed through the chamber. Elder Thorum's face turned darker. Prince Kael, you have been infected by the same madness that has taken your mother. Have I? Or have I simply opened my eyes to see what our society really is? The prince turned to address the entire council. We rule through fear and control. We suppress the natural impulses of our people. We have created a civilization of robots, not living beings. We have created perfection, the elder shouted. We have created emptiness, Prince Kael replied. The human is right. Our people are surviving but not living. They want more than just existence. They want purpose and joy and connection. Those things lead to chaos, do they? Or do they lead to growth? The prince gestured toward Jake. This human sacrificed himself for a child who wasn't even his own. That act came from love, not logic. And yet it was the most logical thing possible, ensuring the survival of the next generation through selfless action. Jake felt a surge of hope. The prince understood. Maybe change really was possible, but Elder Thorum was not convinced. Enough debate. The human dies and we will use chemical suppressants to eliminate these dangerous ideas from our population. You'll have to go through me first, Queen Viridian said, moving to stand beside Jake. And me, added Prince Kael. And me, said a familiar voice. Crick stepped out from behind a pillar where he had been hiding. The human saved a child. He taught us about sacrifice and love. If you kill him, you kill the best parts of what we could become. Other young aliens began stepping forward from around the chamber. Jake realized they had been there all along, listening to everything. One by one, they moved to stand with the Queen and Prince. Mutiny, General Morvain growled, reaching for his weapon. Evolution, Queen Viridian corrected. The human has shown us something we lost long ago, the ability to choose, to grow, to become more than we were. Elder Thorum looked around at the divided chamber. Very well. If you insist on protecting this creature, then you leave me no choice. General Morvain, arrest them all. The Queen, the Prince, and their followers are no longer fit to lead. Wait, Jake said, stepping forward. I have a different proposal. You are in no position to make proposals, human. Maybe not. But I have information you need. There are human ships coming to look for me. My people know where I am, and they're not going to give up easily. You can kill me and face a war, or you can listen to what I have to say. Elder Thorum hesitated. What do you propose? A compromise. Let me return home, and I'll make sure the humans don't attack your empire. In exchange, you stop suppressing your people's emotions. Let them choose their own paths. Let them experience love and joy and all the messy, inefficient things that make life worth living. Impossible. Our entire society would collapse. No, it would grow. It would become something better than it is now. Jake looked around the chamber at all the faces watching him. Some looked hopeful, others fearful, many confused. These people were on the edge of a great change, and he was somehow at the center of it. The choice is yours, he said. Evolution or extinction, growth or stagnation, life or just existence. The chamber fell silent as everyone waited to see what would happen next. The silence in the chamber stretched on for what felt like hours. Jake could hear his own heartbeat as he waited for someone to speak. Finally, a new alarm began sounding, different from the others, deeper and more urgent. General Morvain pressed a device on his chest. Report, he ordered. Sir, we have human ships approaching our position. Multiple vessels, heavily armed. They're demanding the return of their citizen Jake Morrison. Elder Thorum's eyes widened. How many ships? 17 warships and several support vessels. They formed a battle formation around our location. Jake felt a mixture of hope and fear. His people had come for him, but this could easily turn into a disaster that got everyone killed. Typical human aggression, the elder snarled. They threaten violence to get what they want. Or maybe they just want their friend back, Prince Kale said quietly. A communication screen activated in the center of the chamber. The image showed the bridge of a human starship. A woman in a military uniform looked out at them with stern determination. This is Admiral Ben Parker of the Human Colonial Fleet, she announced. We know you have our citizen Jake Morrison. We demand his immediate release. Admiral Parker, Jake called out, stepping where she could see him. I'm alive and unharmed. Relief flooded the Admiral's face. Jake, are you all right? We've been looking for you for months. I'm fine. But Admiral, you need to know, the situation here is complicated. We're prepared to fight if necessary. The entire colony has been working to find you. Katie Sullivan insisted we mount this rescue mission. She said you saved her life and she wanted to save yours. Jake felt tears in his eyes. Katie was safe and had grown up to become a leader just like he hoped. Tell her I said thank you. Elder Thorum pushed forward. Human fleet, you are trespassing in Zephyrian space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. We'll withdraw when you return our citizen, Admiral Parker replied firmly. That may not be possible, the elder said. Your citizen has committed crimes against our empire. What crimes? Queen Viridian stepped into view of the screen. Admiral Parker, I am Queen Viridian Kethzar. Jake Morrison volunteered to take the place of a child in our scientific research program. He has been invaluable to our studies. Studies? Admiral Parker's voice turned cold. What kind of studies? We have been examining human psychological resilience. Mr. Morrison has proven remarkably durable. You've been torturing him. We have been learning from him, and he has been teaching us things we never expected to learn. Jake stepped closer to the screen. Admiral, it's true. I volunteered to come here. And yes, they put me through some tough tests, but something unexpected happened. I started changing their society just by talking to people and sharing stories about humanity. What do you mean? Their people have been suppressed for thousands of years. No emotions, no choices, no freedom. But when they heard about human culture, about love and sacrifice and family bonds, they started wanting those things for themselves. Admiral Parker looked confused. Are you saying you want to stay there? No, Jake said firmly. I want to come home, but I also don't want to see a war between our species. There has to be a better way. Prince Kale moved forward. Admiral Parker, may I speak? Who are you? Prince Kale Kethzar, heir to the Zephyrian Empire. Your citizen Jake Morrison has helped our people understand something important. We have been existing, not living. He has shown us what it means to truly live. That's nice, but we still want him back. And he shall be returned, the prince said, surprising everyone in the chamber. But I hope this can be the beginning of something greater. Cooperation between our species instead of conflict. Elder Thorum erupted in rage. Prince Kale, you have no authority to make such promises. Actually, he does, Queen Viridian said calmly. As of this moment, I am abdicating my throne. Prince Kale is now the rightful ruler of the Zephyrian Empire. Gasps and shouts filled the chamber. General Morvain reached for his weapon, but several young aliens moved to block him. The Empire was splitting apart before Jake's eyes. "Mother, why?" Prince Kale asked. "Because Jake Morrison taught me something about sacrifice. Sometimes leaders must give up power so their people can be free. I have ruled through control and fear. You will rule through understanding and choice." Elder Thorum drew himself up to his full height. "I will not allow this madness to continue. Guards, arrest all of them." But the guards didn't move. Many of them were young aliens who had been listening to Jake's stories through Crix. They looked uncertain and conflicted. "The old ways are ending," Crix called out from across the chamber. "We choose growth over stagnation. We choose life over mere existence." More young aliens began stepping forward, surrounding the traditionalists. It wasn't a violent revolution. It was simply the next generation refusing to follow the old path. "This is chaos," Elder Thorum declared. "This is evolution," Prince Kale replied. "And it's time." Admiral Parker's voice came from the communication screen. "This is all very interesting, but our primary concern is getting Jake home safely." "Of course," the new King Kale said. "Jake Morrison, you are free to return to your people with our gratitude, but I have a request." "What kind of request?" Jake asked. "Would you consider serving as an ambassador between our species? We have much to learn from humanity, and perhaps we have knowledge that could benefit your people as well." Jake thought about it. He could go home to New Haven and return to his quiet life building houses and roads, or he could help build something much bigger, a bridge between two different forms of life. "I'll consider it," he said. "But first I want to go home and see Katie Sullivan. I want to make sure she became the engineer she always wanted to be." "Agreed. Take all the time you need." Elder Thorum made one last desperate attempt to maintain control. "This alliance will doom both our species. Emotions lead to conflict. Freedom leads to chaos." "Maybe," Jake said, looking directly at the old alien. "But slavery leads to death of the spirit, and I'd rather live with chaos than die in perfect order." 2 hours later, Jake stood in the docking bay of the Zephyrian ship, preparing to transfer to Admiral Parker's vessel. Queen Viridian, former Queen Viridian, came to see him off. "I want to thank you," she said quietly. "For what? For teaching me to love my son? For showing me that strength comes from caring, not controlling? For helping me understand that the best leaders are those who know when to step aside? What will you do now? Learn. Experience. Feel all the emotions I've suppressed for so long. Perhaps find someone to love." She smiled, the first genuine smile Jake had ever seen from her. It's frightening and wonderful at the same time. Crix also came to say goodbye. The young alien looked different now, more confident, more alive. "Will you really come back?" Crix asked. "I promised I'd consider it, and I keep my promises." "Good. We'll need help building this new society. It won't be easy. The best things never are." As Jake walked toward the human shuttle, Prince Kale, now King Kale, approached him. "Jake Morrison, before you go, I want to make something clear. What you did, volunteering to save that child, that single act changed the course of galactic history. One person's choice to sacrifice for others sparked a revolution that will affect billions of lives." "I just did what felt right," Jake said. "Exactly. You followed your heart instead of cold logic. That's what makes humanity special. That's what we want to learn." The shuttle ride back to the human fleet was quiet. Jake looked out the window at the Zephyrian ships, many of which were now showing lights and decorations as their crews celebrated their newfound freedom. Admiral Parker greeted him personally when he boarded the flagship. "Jake Morrison, you're a hero. The entire human colony system has been following your story. I'm not a hero. I'm just a construction worker who got in over his head. Maybe. But you've accomplished something amazing. You've turned potential enemies into potential allies, and you've done it without firing a single shot. The real credit goes to people like Crix and Prince Kale. They were ready for change. They just needed someone to show them it was possible." 3 weeks later, Jake stood on the dock at New Haven Colony, watching a transport ship land. The first person off was Katie Sullivan, now 16 years old and already enrolled in advanced engineering programs. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. "Mr. Jake, you came back. I promised I would teach you about construction, didn't I?" Katie stepped back and smiled. "Actually, I think I might be able to teach you a few things now. I've been designing buildings that can adapt to different environments. Want to see the plans?" "I'd love to." That evening, Jake sat on his porch watching the sunset over New Haven. In the distance, he could see the spaceport where a small Zephyrian cultural exchange ship had landed that morning. Young aliens were walking through the colony, experiencing human culture for the first time. Lisa Sullivan approached with a cup of coffee.
"Penny for your thoughts?"
"Just thinking about choices," Jake replied. "How one decision can change everything. Any regrets?" Jake watched Katie showing some young Zephyrians how to use construction tools. The aliens looked fascinated and excited, their natural curiosity finally free to explore. "No regrets," he said. "Sometimes the most important thing you can do is show others that change is possible." A year later, Jake accepted the position of Chief Ambassador to the Zephyrian Alliance,